Hey, what is going on, guys? Now we have the game The Quinfall. Now, supposedly it's supposed to be the biggest game that you can explore ever to be hit the market. Now, the funny thing is that The Quinfall is supposed to be releasing a closed beta that is invite only starting January 30th. Now, I was just checking around and I had to look, and this is what I typed into the, I'll clear it out. Has anyone played Quinfall Alpha? And then I'll refresh it. Now what you get is obviously we have my boy, Force Gaming, talking about Quinfall, the Quinfall, and how it's the biggest MMO. And I did watch that video, and they claim Quinfall that it is the biggest, way bigger than World of Warcraft, Elder Scrolls, Guild Wars Online, Black Desert Online, of enough map. And here's the kicker, guys. Like, you figure, so normally when we talk about games and how they go, and you know, no one's like, this is probably, a lot of you, is probably the first time you guys ever heard of this. Now, you have to understand that the Quinfall, right? And we'll play
Hey everyone, what's going on? So a couple weeks ago,
we'll play some of this guy's video here. Now, you have to understand that the game has been produced and generated all by artificial intelligence. So there wasn't a huge crew or anything building content and this and that. And I think it was all AI generated and whatnot. So here's a little 17-minute video on Force Gaming that talks about it a little bit. And we'll watch a tiny bit of this. And then we'll get your reaction to what do you guys think. Now, so remember, the game is coming out January 30th for a closed beta, but only to a limited few who actually signed up for it. And check this out. It's going to be on the NDR Plus, so then no one's going to be able to publicize it. And then when you look for the game, so this is their homepage and whatnot, and I'll get off their homepage and look them back up. So the Quinfall, and then you get the Steam one here, right? And then you got the Quinfall. Now you got to understand also that this game is made from a Turkish company, and so if you go to register, right, and then try to download or anything, see, I already registered and everything like that, but when you go to download, right, it says it wants you to download the game from Steam. So regardless if you register or anything on this website, and you need 50 gigs of space, and obviously a Windows 10 64-bit is recommended, and minimum they want you to have 4 gigs of RAM and at least an i3. I mean, most people are going to be able to play this game. And they say it's supposed to be run streamlessly without any loading screens and stuff like that. So, if you have for your latest drivers, obviously they'll give you here. But I suggest, clicking on your own NVIDIA or Radeon and downloading your drivers from them. So, you really can't play the game. So, what it does, it just sends you to Steam. And then you can add it to your wish list. And then all it says is it's coming soon. So then we have, some footage here, obviously, of what the game is supposedly gonna just so we're also everyone knows it's tab target. So if you were looking for something like Black Desert Online or anything that's really action based combat, this is not the game for you. This is more of like a game that's kind of like World of Warcraft or Guild Wars or something like that. You know, where you actually have to tab to your target and go through the your many rotations and whatnot. But there's supposed to be an large open sea that you can travel on ships and have naval battles, and this game, I guess, is very guild oriented and stuff like that. So that's one video. Here's the next one.
Welcome to the realm of Quinfall, adventurer on a trail to the past.
And even if you look up like the flavor text for the game and what it's about, and then so these images were all generated and just posted, I'm guessing. So there's really actually no. So I look. All right. Embark on an adventurous journey to explore the Quinfall universe. Be part of unique battles and an immersive story of dozens of different professions in the depths of medieval times in an all-new MMORPG experience. The problem is they don't tell you. Is there a protagonist? What are you doing? Is it so? On this land, the war chaos lives forever, and a life that would determine its destiny once again challenge time. So it's hard to understand like what it is without actually giving us like an actually developer or something sitting down and telling us what the game's going to be about, warring or not, or is there some major faction we need to kill or whatever. So the finer details of the game isn't really known, except that
Lands of Quinfall,
that it's an MMORPG. You can do professions. There's guild wars and there's world bosses and stuff like that, but what endgame stuff is there? Is there what kind of PvP? Is there just open world PvP? Is there gonna be arena? Is there gonna be battlegrounds? Is there gonna be what kind of game is this? Is it just kind of like everything's all linear where it's all open world and that's where it stays?
feature a variety of landforms, mountains, lakes, and rivers that are shaped according to their respective biomes and climates. The local flora also corresponds to the biome.
So I'd love to get a beta access to this, and I'm not talking about the NDR that's coming out the 30th that you can't talk about, but this is where I get really puzzled. So yes, there's an invite for a beta to a certain amount of people that signed up for it for a game that nobody knew about, and It's from Turkey, and I'm guessing the only way you're going to be able to play this game is if you have a Turkish IP, maybe a Turkish telephone number, and a Turkish email. And then you'd probably be able to get to play this game. And that's not out of the realm of not impossible, because the internet is funny like that. And I'm sure our Turkish friends would help us out in getting us a key. But the problem is signing an NDR, you're not actually supposed to talk about the game until it fully functions into a beta where you can talk about it. So I don't know how long this beta is going to run for. And then, so when it's done, they're going to have another beta, but they're going to want you to pay for it. What I heard. So that really pissed me off.
Cities are strategically spread across cliffs, shores, mountains, and even underground in a vast 2,016 square kilometer land.
2,016 square land. Now, if we can get into the comparison, how big for land. No, how many spaces do you need? How many gigs? How wild landscape? Miles designer? How big is the? There's got to be a number that I'm sure I can find to figure out how big in comparison each game is. We'll get that. I'm not going to do a bunch of research right now as we're doing that.
In this world, seasons and weather conditions like rain and snow interact with your character.
And I know the other guy, Force Gaming, does have that numbers in the next previous video.
As well as objects. Plants and some animals may decline in number in certain climates.
So weather's going to be a part of this game.
Some areas may be
But we're still not obviously positive this is a scam or not, or a cash grab. They keep saying it's not, but if you notice that their website isn't really so great, so it's yet to be determined, and nobody's played the game. And yes, you can make all these videos in an Unreal Engine to produce a spoof to get people's money, but it does say it's coming to Steam. But that doesn't mean that things haven't gone to Steam that haven't and never came out. So just be wary, guys, before you actually dish out any money, before they start asking for money. Find out someone who's professional that actually played the game. They're legitimate. They start talking about it. It's actually a real thing. It's a game. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's going to be the next big game, but it might be a game that you might want to play for a month or two. And who knows? This being just a beta, and it's probably we're looking at alpha footage and stuff like that, that doesn't mean that things ain't going to change in any way or not. Especially with Diablo 4. Like, I had a crap ton of fun playing the beta. But when the game came out and all the situation that we're going to be heading into Season 3, and the game still has its problems.
Subjected to floods, and some may surface as a result of drafts. All of these are some of the elements that make up Quinfall's alive and dynamic world.
And these ain't videos, these are just still pictures, right? I'm guessing this is a town. Kind of looks like New World a little bit, right? Or maybe, yeah, New World. It looks exactly kind of like New World. A lot. It's pretty lame UI. I mean, it's nothing spectacular. I'm not sure if there's going to be add-ons or what the character customization is going to be. But obviously this girl is kind of a green and she has, she's kind of cool. I mean, if she was able to make her character like this and it wasn't a preset. So yeah, alright. So then if you see that there's some of the character customization, their full body, the bones, and I see that they see these purple and blue marks. That means you can make something and size it differently. Kinda like Black Desert. I always thought Black Desert had the best character customization I've ever seen in my life, and hopefully this is moving in more of that same direction. And whatnot. Here's some more. This kind of looks like Luke Golain in Diablo series. Little wintry scene. Here's the inventory. Some of the this is what your character would look like. I mean, it doesn't look super impressive, like groundbreaking. Here's your character display out. Obviously, this guy has 0 strength, and he has 2 double-handed axes. So I don't understand that at all. How do you have 0 strength, all defense, and 51 constitution? Not the way I would build a guy, but it looks like here's some skills presets, maybe. Different swordsman and a guardian. As you can see, there's sword and shield, 2-handed sword, spear, dual axe, dual dagger, warhammer. And as you can look at it, you see the 50. So are they trying to do what New World did too, and you have to level up your weapon or whatever? Because I see the 50 here. Warhammer, bow, crossbow, staff, and life staffs. And possibly this game might be classless, where whatever weapon you're holding would unlock another class or abilities, and who's to know. Then here's another content menu. We got your character, your inventory, skills, life skills, clan, purchase regions. What does that mean? Vehicles, ships, mounts, pets, buildings. So I'm guessing there's going to be very big, huge immersion of building and lands and stuff. And then you have workers. So it's going to be kind of taking a page out of Black Desert. Quests, card deck. The central market's right in your content menu. World map. There's the store. Who knows if it's going to be pay to win. Castle Wars. And Arena Wars down here. Ancient Stone Wars. Olympiad Wars. World Boss statue, and then you have your ranking system, and then you can't see what these are because they're kind of cut off. But if there's a ranking system and a bunch of different wars, people might be interested in stuff like that. So here's the channels: Channel 1, Channel 2. So the channels are different. So you have a 20% experience and 20% life skill resource plus 20% PvE drop. Same. Channel 4 free PvP, PK outside of town with a 50% experience. Ooh. So it kind of looks like if you partake in the PvP channels, they're rewarding you with a plus 30% over the regular bonus of... Because if you look at Channel 1, it's Castle Sieges, Ancient Stone Wars, Olympiad tournaments, and player-made buildings. So in Channel 1 is where all that happens. So then you have to jump channels to experience other things. Same thing. So there's 3 channels of PvP and only 2 channels if you don't want to experience any of that. And you got your ping down here. And obviously it's Europe because this game is based out of Turkey. Little tavern. Some more character customization. As you can see, this guy has a white tattoo and some veins or scars on his face. Seems to be an elf. Some weirdness going on down here. Could do without that. Nobody wants to see this guy all veiny and stuff. I mean, obviously it makes... But honestly, give me a comment to see you think this is necessary. It's that world boss of that big, huge worm that looks like it's from Tremors. And it kind of looks like this guy's shooting a gun or something like that. Little Nordic scene, right? Is this guy a bard? How's that big city you've seen with that huge robot they were fighting? And this place is supposed to be nuts big, right? So I'm anxious to see what's going on. You can climb. So I want you to check out the and I'll put his video in the description here. So you can't play the game. You can register now at quinfall.com. But that's as far as you can get. You can look at some of the skills and skill trees information, but it's not really you can see some of the two-handed skills and what's available. It's all obviously it's probably subject to change because since we are in a beta, and they have the various number of skills for each one. So if you're a bow guy, you want to go check out what could possibly be your bow skills, or if you're into say daggers, you can check out what the dagger builds are. And as for there seems to be a Discord and a forum and wallpapers, but there's not really much else. Well, it's kind of good that they put in some of their skills that you're able to see what they do, and I don't know by each breakdown of what these things do up here. You know what I mean? They don't show any of that, but maybe this is where it breaks down into 3 different subcategories. Is you have the life thing, and then you can add one of these passives and stuff like that. But I want to show you what not me, but Force Gaming had to say on the matter.
New MMO scheduled to come out in 2024. Now on that video, I had a few comments where people were asking why I neglected to include the Quinfall. And that's a really good question. If you're unfamiliar, the Quinfall is an upcoming fantasy medieval inspired MMO being developed by Valrek Technology Inc. Beyond the standard content and...
Now, I'm gonna let this whole video play and just sit back and enjoy the video, and we'll talk after the video real quick and whatnot. I just want you to at least place everything that should be in this video that's necessary. Now we can go to Reddit if you want, but Force Gaming did a game of upcoming games for 2024, and I want to leave a little context before we get so far into this video, is that he didn't include this video because he didn't think this game would be subject to come out this year. But it has hit mysteriously saying, oh, by the way, we will be doing a beta on January 30th. So then everyone's like, oh, so I guess the game is coming out this year. But the problem is that games usually take between 8 and 5 years to develop. And this game only took about 2, which is very concerning. So then people are thinking maybe it's a scam. So stay tuned, watch the video, and then we'll talk about it more.
And feature offerings seen in most MMOs, Quinfall boasts a few interesting claims. They say to have built the world's largest MMO map with a total play area of 2,016 square kilometers, which frankly is a bit crazy. To put this in perspective, that is roughly 54 times the size of Skyrim, which is 37 square kilometers. It's about 10 times the size of World of Warcraft, which was 207 square kilometers. It's also about 5 times the size of Lord of the Rings Online, Black Desert Online, and Elder Scrolls Online, which are all roughly 400 kilometers squared, and it's about twice the size of the original Guild Wars, which was 1,000 square kilometers. So yeah, if it's true that the Quinfall is in fact 216,000 square kilometers, yes, that would be one of the biggest MMOs we've ever played. Now, they say that the world is going to consist of 5 regions, each with their own climate and major cities. There's a day-night cycle and changing weather. Both the weather and seasons will directly impact the world, like summer and winter can affect the population of plants and animals, or there'll be floods and droughts that can change the size of bodies of water. There's going to be community-driven features like trade routes with caravans. You can visit player shops and taverns. There's going to be multiplayer board, dice, and other mini games. They've got this focus on exploration and discovery, like you'll pick up hints and clues by solving puzzles or deciphering codes, and you'll use those to find the entrances to hidden areas, secret passages, and even dungeons. There's going to be dozens of professions with various forms of gathering, crafting, and farming. You can even hire NPCs or other players to work for you. And then beyond the medieval fantasy setting, they've also shown some steampunk elements with things like zeppelins, trains, and massive mechanical mechs. Their survival game style gathering and base building. You see players placing down individual blueprint pieces for a building. There's an ocean as well that's said to be as big as the open world. You can build ships and sail to new islands, fight giant enemies, as well as the elements dealing with winds and huge waves. You'll also encounter other players and pirate factions while at sea. The game will be utilizing an action combat system with basic and heavy attacks, dodges, blocks, and various spells and abilities. There will be PvE activities from fighting basic enemies to huge bosses. We've seen sandworms, krakens, and dragons. And there's open world PvP as well, with various types of medieval themed combat with like ship battles, island skirmishes, and castle sieges. So those are the main highlights and talking points for the Quinfall. And yeah, there's some pretty interesting stuff here. It's an interesting list of bullet points and features. So the question remains though, why didn't I include this game on my list of the upcoming MMOs of 2024? Well, frankly, it didn't even cross my mind. Quinfall had simply fallen off my radar. Mainly, this was due to the fact that I remember first hearing about the game in 2022 with that official reveal trailer, and at that time, the game was said to be in alpha and had only been in development for 1 year. So naturally, I thought for sure it was going to be another one of those MMOs we were learning about super early and it wouldn't release for another 5+ years or more. But it turns out, I was wrong. The Quinfall is actually coming out later this month with a scheduled release date of January 30th, 2024. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Wait a second, Force. I thought you just said the game started development in 2021. And I did, that's correct. According to the developer's website, the Quinfall began production in January 2021. Doing a little bit of quick napkin math here, and yep, that pretty much confirms. That was a mere 3 years ago. So the next question you might have, is 3 years enough time to make an MMO? To which my baseline default answer would be 100%. Absolutely not. No way, at least not historically true. Most of the MMOs you probably know and have played over the years have had an average development time of at least 5 years prior to releasing. World of Warcraft was in development for 5 years before it came out. Star Wars The Old Republic had a 6-year development cycle. Guild Wars 2 also took 6 years to develop, and the Elder Scrolls Online was in development for 7 years before it came out, and those are just a few examples of some well-known MMOs made made by mostly AAA studios with plenty of funding and large development teams, about as well equipped as you could expect to make a game of this scale. Took on average 5 to 7 years. I think maybe with the exception of Guild Wars 2, as I'm just not certain how big or well funded ArenaNet was at the time that game was in production. Even if they were small and not funded, yeah, it took them 6 years to make the game. So yes, as a baseline, my response would be, I would say 3 years is not a lot of time to make an MMO. It's most certainly probably not enough time to make, quote, the biggest MMORPG in the world ever, or whatever Quinfall is calling themselves. Although, as we also know, size has no bearing on quality. That's been proven out many, many times over the years. You could have an absolutely massive game and just nothing to do in it. Like maybe you've got billions of planets with nothing on them, for example. But you know what? I won't say it's impossible. I would say that if you have a large enough team, if you have enough funding, and if you have a reasonable scope for your game, yeah, sure, maybe you could make a decent MMO in 3 years. But at the same time, I would state that the odds are stacked against you because yes, historically, every big MMO that we know of to date took much longer, almost twice as much time to actually make before releasing. So then the next question is, what do we know about the studio who's making this game, the people making the Quinfall? Well, we actually know a fair bit. So the Quinfall is being developed by Varec Technology Inc. Now, according to the About Us section of their website, they were founded in January 2021 and aim to become one of the pioneers of the industry with advanced technologies and AI systems, beginning with the release of, quote, the biggest MMORPG universe in the world to the global audience with our new game, Quinfall. Now, that is the summary of how the studio describes themselves, their vision and goals. Pretty standard stuff. You'll see this on just about every About Us section from any developer. Things get a bit more confusing though when you scroll down the page to the What is Quinfall section. Here is verbatim how they describe the game. Just strap in for this one. Quinfall's fateful doors have been opened again. Of this land where wars and chaos live forever, the life that would determine its destiny once again challenged time. His destiny is a cursed crown. It is to deliver the lands in which chaos reigned to the sharp sword of justice. In this process, against he was ready to destroy anyone who came out, but was the sword of justice really perfect? This journey that will determine the fate of Middle Earth, this fact that will be rewritten with right and wrong, are you ready to start over? Your choices will determine the course of the story. Choose what you will rule. Pretty
guys, I'm totally with him. If you read what you just read, like, what? Makes sense at all. Doesn't make sense at all. And also, as for being the biggest game ever produced, and only taking 2 years to do it, a lot of the land is either going to be as is the AI. It's going to be something that they either duplicating the landscape over and over and over again, and they're going to be wicked vast open areas of just nothing. I think so.
Pretty clear that they didn't get around to asking a single native English speaker to proofread this because, frankly, it's incoherent, a bit of a jumbled mess, and makes no sense really whatsoever. I read this over in my head about 10 times in a row, trying to piece together some idea of what they were trying to convey. Couldn't come up with anything. In fact, the more I read it, the more confusing it got every single time. It almost feels like something that was AI generated. Like this description of the game seems like it was just put in an AI thing and spit out the other side. GDP. But I'm not going to put a stake in that claim. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt and just chalk it up to like a bad Google translation or something, as the company is Turkish, which we'll cover here in the next bit. So looking a little further down the page, we see this timeline highlighting the developer's history. 2022 is when
Man, I'm telling you, 2019 they were Kira Games. And they became, in 2020, Arena Game Studios was established. And then the Kyra Online project was terminated because it was a whole other game. And if you go look at Kyra Online, there is a game of it. But it just never was finished. And then the Quinfall project started development. And then Arena Game Studios changed its title and updated it to Varec Technologies. Almost like Baraktar.
They actually changed names from previously being known as Arena Game Studio to the now used Varec technology. Now, this was later described in interviews done by the developer that this name change was meant to highlight their focus of using tech and AI and not just being a game developer. Not exactly what you want to hear from people making a game that you might be interested in playing, but there you go. That was the motivation behind the name change. The year prior, in 2021, we see additional confirmation that this is when they began development on the Quinfall. But then also in 2021, we noticed that they had canceled the production of another game known as Kyra Online. And here's where things actually get interesting. This throws a wrench in pretty much everything else I was thinking about this game up until this point and the studio. So Kyra Online began development in 2019. This was an MMORPG based on Turkish mythology. I was actually able to find quite a fair few videos of the game, and while it certainly looks dated, almost like it released 20 years ago, it also seems to have been an actual, real, functional game. Yes, it is very low budget looking, almost like it came out in the 90s or something, like a 90s MMO, and it's not something that I could see myself playing in the year 2024, but I also wouldn't say it looks terrible, just old and low budget. I've seen way worse games. I'll put it that much. Like, I look at this and it almost feels like what I remember in my head Asheron's Call having looked like when I played that back in 1999. I know it looked way worse, but you know, when you think about what your vision of a game when you played it many years ago, that's the vibe that I get from this. This really feels like I'm looking at a late 90s, early 2000s MMO, a pre-WoW MMO, basically. This looks like a pre-WoW MMO that could have existed in that time frame. And it seems fine. It seems to run fine. We're seeing like a lot of like AoE grinding. There's some examples of large-scale PvP. Again, I know it looks super low budget. I know it looks old. I know it looks just, cheesy, it doesn't look particularly modern day great, but it's still clearly a functioning game, right? Like it was running, it was functioning, people were playing it. I think what's the most impressive though is that Kyra Online began development by a single dude. This was a one-man project, and then over the course of 2019, more people were added to the team. Then in 2020, after having 1 year in production, Kyra Online entered closed beta, and this is what released. That's kind of crazy to me that they worked on an MMO for a year, starting with one person, built the team. Over the course of the year, they made this MMO. I know a lot of you probably think it looks like crap, but it's actually impressive to me that they made this in a year and released it into beta. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying this is the best looking game ever at all, but I'm just saying it's actually somewhat impressive to me. Now, this was a very small scale beta, which is probably why you've never heard of it before, because the game was only available in Turkish and appears to not have been played much, if at all, outside of that region. But when I looked online, what little discussion I could find surrounding Kyra Online actually seemed fairly positive. Seems like the people who played this actually thought it was decent. In fact, as we now know, in the following years, using Kyra Online almost like a proof of concept for their tech and their work on live service MMO servers and networking, they were then able to obtain the funding from Turkish investors to start development on the Quinfall. Now, again, there is actually hours worth of Kyra Online gameplay that you can go watch for yourself on YouTube. Just do a quick search. The game even had its own Twitch directory at one point, although unfortunately it appears no VODs have been stored there. But yes, I have to reiterate this. I know it looks super low budget, it was, but I am still pretty impressed with what they turned out. There were no founders packages or in-game stores, as far as I can tell. Their efforts on the Quinfall, which is releasing to a global audience, so they're looking to appeal to a larger scale. I want to add here as well, when it comes to like the studio's current size, it's no longer one person or just a handful of people like it was for Kyra Online. Their website links to the official LinkedIn page where it states that the company is made up of somewhere between 50 and 200 people. Doing a little further digging, I found a few articles and interviews where they actually specified the exact number of people currently working on the Quinfall is 56. Now, this was like in the middle of 2023 where that information was pulled from, so it's quite possible they have scaled up in the months since then. But just as a quick recap, so the Quinfall developer Varec Technology used to be called Arena Game Studios. Under that name, their first official project, Kyra Online, was this MMO that was in development from 2019 to 2021. And yeah, while it looked dated and low budget, it does appear to have been a real functional game that people played and evidently enjoyed. But then in 2021, they got funding based off of Kyra Online as proof of concept and began development for the Quinfall, which now has been in production for coming up on 3 years. And with all of that said, like I mentioned, this kind of threw a wrench in what I was thinking and kind of my general sentiment towards the Quinfall, because when I first looked at the Quinfall, watching the gameplay and knowing the facts just around that game, dubious is the word to best describe what I felt about the project. I'm a bit torn right now for that reason. Like, there's some huge red flags when it comes to this MMO. 3 years, like I've said, is a very short time to develop a game of this scale. About half the time of what most large studios require to make an MMO. Similarly, 56 people is a very small development team size to produce an MMO. And technically, yeah, the developer hasn't released a game yet. This would be their first, and maybe this could just be one of those investor bait and switch scams. We've seen some of those fairly recently, if you recall, just the other month with the game known as The Day Before, the no longer existent F-Fantastic. My honest expectations...
I'm just saying that recently, that The Day Before, you know, they had all that beta footage and they were released what was supposed to be a game of this type. And then he released a game that was totally opposite of what they said, not even on the same playing field as graphical or anything that they said it was supposed to be, and then it got taken down. But they did take everyone's money. So just going to leave that out there.
Right now, when Quinfall launches later this month, I expect it's going to be very large, as they say. I've got no reason to deny their claim that the map is just over 2,000 square kilometers. But I also suspect it'll be very likely a majority of that map will be empty, given that time span of 3 years and a development team of 56 people. Not a lot of time, not a lot of devs to make an MMO 10 times the size of World of Warcraft and actually fill that with interesting content. It'll probably be mostly procedural, mostly empty landscapes. Also, further and forced by the devs' stated focus on using AI for development. We got a bunch of heavily procedurally generated landscape that they've stretched out to a large square footage, right? And I want to add as well, I'm not delusional here, because yes, I agree, looking at the gameplay, it doesn't look particularly great for what they've shown of Quinfall. I would say the combat in particular seems not satisfying. I can feel the floatiness and lack of impact just from watching this footage. Many animations are quite janky if they're present at all. We're seeing a lot of stiff movement here, almost as if everyone's got like a bad back or something. And initially, yeah, I didn't include the Quinfall on my upcoming MMOs of 2024 video because I thought there was no way in heck that the game was releasing, given that I knew it had only been in production for 3 years. I just put it on a similar timeline to all those other indie MMOs that we've seen come and go this past decade. And looking further into the game and watching all the footage they've released, that didn't leave me terribly hopeful either. Some of the visuals are nice, sure, but most of the rest of everything else looks rough. Character models look rough. Animations, like I said, look really stiff and floaty. Environmental details are quite lacking, and the combat, it looks bad. I'll just say it. The combat looks bad.
For 2023, actually we're in 2024 now, that you figured they would get a handle of this stuff, especially if they're saying an AI generated. I mean, Black Desert has some of the greatest action combat, and it's just don't even look close. Of course, this is Tab Target, remember.
From what they've shown. But then, after learning about and seeing footage of Kyra Online, it makes me think twice. It does. If they can make that game in 1 year, open it up into beta, and have this be the result of that, and have people playing it and apparently enjoying it, then I don't know. Maybe 3 years has been enough time for Quinfall. I just hope that the combat that they've shown us is something that is getting severely worked on, because it just looked really bad from what we've seen. If anything, I would actually say that ideally they've taken a lot from Kyra and put it into Quinfall, and then that can make up for this tight turnaround time of 3 years. In fact, I'm pretty sure, like watching a lot of footage of both of those games, I'm pretty sure I've seen very many similar looking spells, attack animations, and abilities between the two games. Nearly identical, I swear, watching a bunch of that Kyra Online, how do you pronounce that? Watching a bunch of the footage of their last MMO, I'm like, those spells look like the spells that I've seen in the Quinfall stuff. So that would be like the silver lining, if anything. Like what they've worked on, what they started working on for Kyra Online wasn't totally scrapped when they moved into Quinfall. And I don't know, maybe that just means we get a good MMO. That's really all, that's all we're hoping for, right? We'll be finding out very, very soon, in just a few weeks, actually. As mentioned, the Quinfall is set to enter Steam Early Access on January 30th. I am still not expecting a lot, because even though learning about their past game and seeing their past game doesn't change the fact that Quinfall itself, from what they've shown, doesn't look terribly good. Who knows? We will see very soon. As usual, I'm keeping my expectations low on this one, but I'm hoping for the best. And you know what? I love being surprised. I hope.
I am gonna add this video here, where I found it in my description, and
Quinfall surprises me in a good way. We'll find out soon. But that does it for today. Thank you as always for watching. Hope you enjoyed the vid. See you guys next time, right? Take it easy.
Because they are way better of content creators than I am. I'm using their materials because he said it better than I could, and he did all the research on the square footage and whatnot and had some of that play video. But I figured it was something that you should take a look at, and I will add it in the description of the game. You can go wish list this on your Steam if you want. Obviously, you can go to quinfall.com, look at all the spells. On Steam, they have some of those videos and everything. Just, we're not going to know any much more come January 30th because there's an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, that everyone's going to be signing that, and so there's going to be no video of the game. So it's this concerning, unless there's going to be some leaks. Really don't know. And I don't hope that this is going to be another bait and switch like the day before and whatnot. I just figured I wanted to get this out there. It's been on my mind, and I am positive that Asmongold and others will be talking about this game. It's something that is fresh out there that's going to be coming to us very soon. So we're going to find out. We're going to find out very soon. And I wish, someone who is on the development team or maybe the CEO of that game company goes on a live stream, talks about the game a little bit more, tries to, get his game out there a little bit more through his words. And we'd feel a little bit more comfortable that maybe somebody is talking about their game instead of we just finding it out through content creators. And, oh, by the way, here's this new game that's coming out. I mean, they're not advertising or anything like that. Not like Steam is straight up in their court and saying, oh, by the way, this game's coming out and you should be totally excited about it. So, who knows? But that is it for me for this Quinfall. I am probably going to be playing something else in a little while. But, leave a comment, hit the like and the follow, and I will have more stuff like this coming in the future. Thanks, guys.